Hello everyone. This is taking me a while to edit and produce because I can't get the argument out of my head that we do not need another man making a podcast. So, this isn't really a podcast. I've had the amazing luck of being surrounded by awesome and deeply thoughtful and thought-provoking people. In an attempt to deepen my digital footprint, I decided to interview them and record it. Fair warning though, the volume fluctuates and there is background noise. But like I said, this ain't a podcast. So this interview is with Loydie Burmah, an IE native with a fondness for learning, research, teaching, writing, music, and so much more. They are a lecturer and currently working towards their doctorate. We mostly talked about their master's thesis, the curious case of cancel culture, and how it uncovers themes of performative activism, wokeness, self-surveillance, cancellation effectiveness, especially when it comes to class, and cancel culture's roots in teaching empathy. We also get into the evolution of bots and how important it is to be conscious to the moment and not look away. The intro beats is by Lefty Lucy. Loydie Solange.
Not so much.
Burmese python. So we were talking about earlier water and your love for water and your connection that you're feeling with water a lot recently, and I talked about like how water is also a symbol of communication, right? And you have a master's in communication. So how did that come about? What started? Why communications? Why that field?
You know what? It naturally clicked. I mean, ever since just simply being a kid, having that freedom to just enjoy media. Like, my parents never really had that too many restrictions. Of course, they had their guidance and just advice in terms of being careful, but I don't think it's necessarily a world that they kind of like really prevented us from exploring. Yeah. So, I mean, television, film, video games, anything I could get my like hands on, I just took it in and consumed it. And so when it came to like studying, even when it came down to high school, just trying out for yearbook, trying out for newspaper and seeing like, okay, well, like, what is this transmission of information, like production, like being creative, like it just continued to like click further and further. And then honestly, I wasn't really sure whether or not I was going to go to college, which is kind of an odd thing to say now. Like clearly love to learn, right? Yeah. But I don't know, I never really envisioned myself like in an environment like that. But I will say, one of my brother's oldest friends, I'll never forget, shout out Zohakan. Zohakan. She was actually attending Cal State. And I remember it was around the time, everyone was applying, doing their thing. All of my friends were all so sure. And she was kind of like, well, come with me to Cal State. Like, I'll take you to my classes. Like, I'll tell my professors what's up and just get the vibe for it. And I was like, dang, okay, sure. And then, we walked in to like all of these different comm classes at first and just kind of sat and just was amongst the people, the students, getting a feel for it. And I was like, dang, like it'd be crazy if I missed out on this opportunity. But despite even like applying to a few places, I didn't even apply to Cal State. So I ended up getting there later via like EOP. And not really kind of through EOP, but my friend at the time, which shout out to Isabel Ariola, was basically like, yo, I'm going to Cal State. Like, I'm going through this program, see if you can get in. Like, I'm willing to help you with whatever you need. Like, whatever, transcripts, whatever we need to find out. And I was like, bet. So took her up on that opportunity and then just got connected with the right people and got into Cal State. And then, comm studies. I was like, all right, closest thing to journalism, let me see what's popping. Like, it has to do with media, I'll jump into it. And then slowly but surely getting involved in the theory, but not really so much invested into it, but just kind of like, oh wow, this is pretty crazy. And then the production side of it was like, oh nah, this is what I've been longing for, like what I've been seeing all this time as a kid, what I've like, even for my like 9th grade project, my like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I put like a comedic writer. Hey. It was crazy, like it wasn't like a, just like that was just like my thing, and I was just like, I knew I wanted to like be funny, like, and I knew I was funny, but it's like I want to write funny stuff, you know what I mean? I want to like do that stuff, like, so beyond making those like comments I used to make, like it just slowly but surely clicked, cyclical, like kind of random, but and then the master's kind of hitting that point of like, well, I'm not really sure again, like, what's going to happen with this education thing? Is this something I should go into? I know I want to learn. I know there's just many opportunities to do that. Should I take it up? And then even talking to folks like Dr. Gallegos, who before like getting out of like undergrad, I ended up taking her class. And way before, she had actually, like, when she was like applying for that like position in comp studies, she did a demo in one of the courses, and it was about like Latino media, I think. And I was always just like, dang, if this woman like ever comes teacher, I'm gonna see what's up with her class. And like, sure enough, this lady is here. I didn't even know. And then at the end of it, she was just like, yo, if anyone needs like a mentor, just some advice, like just come talk to me. And actually took her up on the offer, just kind of talked about like, this is kind of what I'm thinking, I'm not really sure. And she like was part of the encouragement, like parents too, and all of that. But like, mostly that idea of like, well, it is possible. Let me just see what this degree could be like. Like, I know it's not the end all be all. I know it's not like the significator of like everything that I need to know, but it's another level to like look forward to. So I'm like, all right, that's a long-winded answer. No. Cut that.
Yeah. I mean, not only was it long, but it was like winding, like a river.
No, water. Okay,
water.
Deep
Again,
and vast and flowing. Okay, and cyclical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Going on to, so you did your master's program and you did a dissertation, and the dissertation's super interesting. You know, it's called The Curious Cases of Cancel Culture. I was rereading through it today. I mean, you mentioned like comedy as like one of the factors of you like getting into it. And if you read this like very educational material, there is still like humor throughout it. And I love that a lot, because I've never like laughed reading one of these things where I'm like, that's hilarious. You know, like you just mentioned a lot of like, well, one of the biggest things is you have the line in here like a la Mean Girls, the burn book. Like, you know, you talk about, because you are talking about something that is so interesting. And what was your reasoning behind this dissertation? What interested you so much into it, you know?
Just seeing things unfold. Like, initially the idea wasn't turning it into like a body of work just yet. Like, you already know, just being on the internet, being on social media, like the
online,
right? Just that, like, chronically online, right?
Yeah.
And so seeing that case of like Brother Nature unfold in real time, like I remember just like, of course, on Twitter, and just like the flood of like people be like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like the drama, like the interest, the curiosity, the violence. And I'm just like, dang, this is crazy. But then, like, because mind you too, before I'll say this, like I re-matriculated back into my master's program because I got kicked out the first time. Yeah, I got kicked out the first time because I wasn't doing so hot. Like, and initially when I got in, like, again, that was also part of my concern with, before even thinking about it, like, okay, this sounds like something that could be for me, a master's program. I'm not really sure what it looks like, but of course I still want to learn. I know I can still do that apart from the institution, but if this is an avenue to do that, great. But then it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do to apply? GPA is not really that great. So then, of course, Dr. Muchaseb is just like, all right, like, I'll give you the chance, right? But you got to prove it to me. And then, yeah, just the stress of everything, of honestly just life, mentally, emotionally, physically, like spiritually. And I wasn't really talking about it much with the people that were just like, oh no, like if you need an ear, like talk to me, because I was just not that very trusting, you know what I mean? I was still kind of just like, no, I got it, I can handle it, I just gotta, you know, brush it off, like we've done this before, right? We've hit this cycle before, this is just another one, we'll get through it. But it's like, no, everything just came crashing down. And I remember it was like that fear of not disappointment in like myself, but like, oh shit, what is everyone else gonna think? Like that concern from like, oh my gosh, like the faith that people had, like the care, because they clearly saw something that I didn't see yet, or I wasn't really truly recognizing. And so my whole thing was just like, well, in service of others, but not really in service for me. And clearly that just obliterated everything. So getting back into it, of course, with the help of Dr. Gallegos, because she was the first person that I told. And I remember when I told her, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be like bad. Like in that sense of like, you know, because this lady was someone who was getting to know, like someone who just really proved to be like just cool, right? And something like, oh, this is gonna be like terrible, right? And she was just like, oh my gosh, dude, like, well, one, like, oh hell no, we gotta figure out what, you know, like we gotta get back in, like you kind of like you have to do this, like there's like, don't give up, like there has to be a way. And I was just like, okay, well, you already know I'm willing to do anything. So help with her and a bunch of variety of other just individuals that came along into that journey. So coming back in, it's like, okay, we're intro grad course, and Dr. Muchaseb was just like, all right, well, we're going to talk about theory. We're going to talk about research. This might be the time for you to like figure out if you want to do a thesis or if you want to do comprehensive exams. And I was thinking, like, for sure I want to write something just for the challenge of it. I'm not really sure what. And so like that's when I was just like, okay, well, I'll write about cancel culture. I'll just why not? Let me just see if I can actually like pick it apart in a way that's not in a sense of like, oh, the scholarly way of doing it, but just like, okay, well, this is just the idea that I'm going to work with. Like, I don't really want to do anything else. And I just got to jump into it. I'm not really sure what I'll talk about. You know what I mean? Like, there's plenty of ideas floating around. There's plenty of examples to choose from. So let me just see. And like, yeah, I brought it to her. And even she was just like, girl, like, I don't even know. Like, she was like, I've been hearing about this. But she was like, honestly, like, again, that whole idea of like the whole mentorship and like trusting people like her, where she's just like, well, I'm going to go back into like my mental archives and find the stuff that like, because I've been thinking about this too, but this might point you in that direction of what this is now. So just kind of work with that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is such a big, I mean, in your dissertation, you talk about, it is a dissertation, right?
Thesis.
Okay, thesis. So in your thesis, you even talk about like, it's the importance of complexifying this thing. It's not as simple as you may think it may be, you know?
Right.
And the examples that you give, and then also like the history of it too. And then also how social media companies play a part in it, and how co-opting of culture, colonialism you talk about too. You also put some class theory in this, which I really appreciate. I don't think you necessarily call it out, but you talk about like how celebrities have a different experience of being canceled than everyday people. I can see why at the beginning of this people were like, "What the fuck? That's a big topic," you know, like cancel culture in the ether, right? But the way that you were able to like just kind of get the ball rolling, I think is super important. And I think
which is crazy too, because I like to think like in my own corner of what I was doing at the time, like it's like I know other people were thinking about it and writing about it too. And it was just a matter of like, okay, well, what am I seeing that can add to like whatever body of literature this would make sense in, or just at least just to like speak my sense on this in a way of like, this is what I'm seeing. Like clearly this isn't the end all be all, right? But yeah, like that idea of it is so multifaceted. Like it is never one thing. It's like amorphous. Like it, you know what I mean? It changes shape in every situation with different people. There are different rules or whatever. Like whatever I'm perceiving as rules, whatever. And it's like paying attention to the folks who, again, they may not have called it that, right? Cancel culture, but like previous concepts, like things that I ran into. Like I think Dr. Mutas had shared it with me. Like the whole online firestorm. I'm just like, oh my god, this is it, dude. Like this is. Like, is this just another iteration? Well, I mean, it's its own thing now, right? But there's a lineage here that, again, it's like the cyclical thing. Yeah. Like, why are we doing this now?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about this moment? Why are we calling it cancel culture? And the whole process of it.
Yeah, and I just want to read a part. Cancel culture is directly linked with the spiral of silence theory, whereby individuals self-impose restrictions to maintain public consensus. Developers as private curators of public speech guidelines influence how users choose to self-censor. Some users may interpret cancel culture and platform moderation as grounds for self-censorship. But I think what I'm trying to get at that you really push through is like the self-surveillance state that we're being put into because of the co-opting of what canceling really was, you know, which you kind of expand on about being in Black communities, and I think specifically Black queer communities, how it was like to hold each other accountable for what we do, but there was this it's I have it bookmarked here because it was like when I read it I was like, this is the perfect part. The elite use cancel culture as a crutch to reassert their dominance over public discourse. They have yet to reconcile how coalitions of the othered are now equipped to execute a responsive strategy for immediately identifying harms and demanding consequences. Clark critiques a letter on justice and open debate as an example of the elites reframing cancel culture as an attack on free speech rather than a discursive practice for marginalized communities, particularly Black individuals. In Romano's Vox article, Why We Can't Stop Fighting About Cancel Culture, the author notes that cancel culture's rise historically links to civil rights boycotts to the 1950s and 60s. Anne Charity Hudley shared that canceling is essentially an old survival skill of resistance for Black folks. If you don't have the ability to stop something through political means, what you can do is refuse to participate. Yeah, other perspectives regarding accountability practices like calling out and more recently calling in attempt to redefine social justice approaches to cancel culture. So this co-opting of cancel culture has become where people like just want to like bully somebody and like get them to like not kill themselves. But
shoot, like, you never know.
Yeah,
dude, yeah.
Some of these people are fucking hardcore,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but there is never the this is what it was. Calling in engages in debates with words and actions of healing and restoration without the self-indulgence of drama. And when I read that, I was like blown away, because it is this whole idea of restorative justice. You know, you're not doing it to just call somebody else and like point and laugh at them, but you're doing it because you want them to be better and you want them to learn by that. And because of the medium that you're using call outs, like through social media platforms, it's not going to have the same thing that it used to do. And like, I feel like the more communal societies, or in the more in-person communal societies.
And honestly, that's in part of the research, finding work. I want to say it's Professor Loretta J. Ross. If I butcher the last name, but I know it's like Professor Loretta J. at least. But yeah, in her piece, she had a few like opinion pieces about the whole calling in versus calling out. And even now, if you visit some of her like current work, she's still hosting workshops about like, well, let's redefine this, because when I was growing up throughout the decades, like in different political like frameworks, environments, experiences, like we were doing our best, kind of like what you guys are doing now. Like you're simply calling it cancel culture, but I'm looking at it from the perspective of, well, we don't want to cancel anyone, right? We really want to bring them in. And even Clark too, again, like bringing up those like historical points that even if we didn't call it cancel culture back then, there was some form of process that was happening amongst humans that was just like, well, if we're going to rectify anything, well, we do have to come together. It's going to be messy, right? Like not everyone's going to get it right. Yeah. Like, of course, we're going to have to be mindful and just much more welcoming to hearing like criticism. But like, that's where we should invite that. Like, why should we exit anyone out if it's not really that big of a deal? But again, it just depends on like the context and the situation. Yeah. And that's what makes it so like cancel culture is so like fascinating, because I'm always like, well, what's the purpose? Yeah. In each case, like, are we doing this because you have a personal vendetta against someone? Like, are we doing this because this is a legitimate issue that does need to be addressed? Like, or like, just what is it? Yeah. And like, why that specific terminology? And does this result in whatever form of reprimand or accountability that's going to be like legitimate? Yeah. Or like, what is it going to be? Yeah. And there's no answer for that, really.
No. And people who participate in it don't, I don't think necessarily set out with that answer. And that's after, rereading this again, that's what makes me, well, and not the whole thing. I went through what I highlighted. There's a lot of words, girl.
I listen.
You proved you're in communications. We get it. Okay, you use words. Sick. But
I use a lot of them too.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah. Fucking
say that.
Which I did also say. This is a non sequitur. But you end your thesis on page 69. Did you know that?
No, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it ends on 69.
Oh my god, freaky knowledge, man.
Yeah, I noticed it. Yeah, your last.
Come get you some, man.
And then you go into references for the next like fucking 8 pages.
And you have to. Yeah. And honestly, and one thing about me for sure, I'm like, you already know, I'm about like the whole
analytical as fuck.
Well, just trying to pay homage to the people again, like the different thought, because even that whole spiral of silence theory, and I know I keep name dropping, I don't know if I'm supposed to be name dropping people, but back when I was initially in like undergrad first class, one of my first classes ever was Intro to Comm, and it was Dr. Joanna Grant, and again she did the whole like, we're gonna talk about theories, or I'm gonna give you like the rundown. I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be like amazing, right? Yeah. And then we ended up talking about the whole spiral of silence theory, and again that whole thing of like most people feeling, and I'm just riffing here, and authors who initially don't even get mad at me, like, you know who you are. You're listening everywhere, you're cited every do not diss me. But that idea of like people feeling, or when feeling uncomfortable, would opt to basically be silent and go with the majority, which I mean the whole cancel culture thing, right, is either you're with us or you're against us. Either we're canceling this person, like, or we're not. And if you know what I mean, and if you don't, then there must be something wrong with you, and then we got to look into you, right? And then we got to figure out. But again, I think it just really depends on like the mob mobilizing at that time to decide, or whoever is mobilizing at that time, in their decision to be like, okay, it's going to be this person
Yeah.
or that organization or whatever the case.
Yeah. Another thing that you brought up in your thesis that I really fucked with was you talked about like at a certain point what it's become is people are so afraid to get canceled that they start self-censoring themselves for the things that they're doing because they've seen how it can tear down other people's lives, specifically when they're not celebrities and they don't just have to post the notes at Popology, you know? Like,
Hey, I'm
know.
sorry. That was the old me.
Yeah. So you know, that was, I don't know, that was just, I just really loved that you wrote your thesis on it. I thought it was like such an interesting thing to think about because these are things that I think one of the craziest thing that I think this paper was written in 2021 or at least finished, that's when it's published, but you were using info that was, I mean, I think, and I didn't check this, but I think one of the latest that I saw was 2004, you know? And so like it's all still happening at the very same time. Yeah. And so I think one of the good things about your thesis is it's not like, I'm not here to like give you a definitive on what cancel culture is, if it's bad, if it's not, if we should continue it, if we shouldn't, but I'm here to tell you, you need to be making it more complex. You need to, I think your last, one of your last words, then, then I create a thorough and cohesive argument that strives to acknowledge cancel culture's multiplicity by proposing complex parallel inquiry. And again, on that page 69, this is your last sentence. Moreover, to develop discourse and practices to develop our understanding of the phenomenon beyond strict ideological boundaries. And you talk a little bit about polemic, maybe it's not discourse or argumentation or something like that, which is like, it's polemic discourse or whatever. It's like trying to prove your point over the other person's point. And you're like, I'm not really trying to do that. I'm not trying to prove my point over someone else's point. I'm trying to show you that these things are complex.
Yeah, like legit, just add to the conversation of it, and honestly, still keeping in mind just the authors, the scholars, the people who were doing research before, and not just in like academia, but like I mean the cultural writers who I've like been looking at, who've just been like pushing out great stuff that has just had me like spinning my wheels and be like, oh my gosh, this is great, right? So like your podcasters, your YouTubers, whoever had a really just good thought on the matter that I'm just like, yes, this is helping me again, just continuing to rethink and reframe and really get more grounded into, well, how do I really see this?
Yeah.
And again, just trying to find that balance. It's like, I don't come with this in terms of like, this is the end all and be all for it, but the idea of, well, this is where I'm coming with it from. And there's more work to be done, but if I can add sort of like my dewdrop and like the vast ocean of whatever, if we call it cancel culture studies in the future, or just general comm studies, media studies, just that thing in which this like can exist. That's what I'm willing to talk about, like cancel culture for the moment, and then anything else that comes of it, because clearly, like in mass consciousness, this is where we're at, where it's kind of like, well, either it's like you're with us or you're against us. Like that is so very strong right now. Like you're with me or you're against me, and sometimes for like the most paranoid reasons that can like take some to a place of like, no, I'm really with you, right? You just don't see it. Yeah. Right? Or like you won't even honor the fact that I just simply have a difference of opinion. Yeah. Or just literally what I've been just getting into just more in my head about of the fact that we don't have control over anyone. No. If we're being realistic about it. And I think it's like the scramble for like, well, who has the better rules for us to be able to like act civilized in a way that makes sense? And it's just like, everyone's kind of crazy. I don't know, right? Like, but that idea of, well, we fundamentally only have control of ourselves. Yes. And so the way that you interact with this world is, I mean, that's all you really got, right? I can't really control whoever's going to vote for whatever, the same way that I can't control whoever's going to cancel this. And of course, the other minuscule and the other bigger things that actually matter. So it's just like, I'm coming at this from, well, what can I contribute? Yeah. Yeah.
No, and it's a great thing that you did contribute. I think, also, welcome to Instagram. I know you just you got
follow me.
Shoot. Oh my god!
I'm sorry to be ridiculous.
Shameless plug. Get me on Twitter. Get me on.
Hit me up. Hit me up. Cash out.
When you do Cash App.
What? No, don't say that. That's crazy. I mean, if you want, it is.
The beginning of Leo season, when she's like, "Give me up, Cash App, edible arrangements."
Yes, edible arrangements. Yeah. Shout out China.
Yeah. R.I.P.
R.I.P. Yeah, seriously.
Damn. But I think just because it's this is the part of also, okay, so a few things, right? And I would just love your open opinions on these things. And of course, if you don't want to discuss them, we don't have to discuss them. Yeah. But one of the things that I think as we are living and breathing in 2024, you know, and in late 2024, is just like the amount that we allow social media. Okay, so the amount that I allow social media, because let's make it personal, right? The amount that I allow social media to form my opinions, to fuck with my feelings, you know, and to forget that I'm in a bubble when I'm on these sites that I know are gonna feed you the content that you like. Because if there's one thing being in social media, working in social media, that you understand is their goal is to keep you on their app, is to keep your attention. Everything that else they say is just to kind of make you feel good about it, right? And so, especially as I see a lot of things about the Palestine and Israel, you know, the Palestinian genocide that we're all witnessing right now, are the propaganda, though, on the flip side of the quick messages that we receive every day of people just sharing like things and memes or pictures and stuff that aren't necessarily true, but you can see the message behind it. Oh yeah. And so that's what, like, it's just like we're always, whether it be the social media companies like plan to do this or not, because like we can go deep into conspiracy theory and stuff like that and be like, oh, it's a cabal, you know, like it's a cabal. Right, but at the end of the day, I believe like at the end of the day, we are all people, you know, and I don't think we're all too stupid to be this well organized, you know, in my opinion. You know, it's like sometimes it's just people at the end of the day, it's just people behind these corporations, behind these boards, or behind even the coders for Instagram or for the way that the algorithm works. You know, at a certain point, you give that up because the algorithm now has AI and it's you know, doing whatever it wants to do. So for me, it's not like I don't think it's working to achieve some bigger means to the end, except for let me keep you on this app, you know. And I kind of strayed off a bit, but it's mostly just like messaging, you know, like we're consistently trying to be controlled by messaging, and you're right, the it's us or nothing is more prevalent to me because of the communities that I hang out in, you know, the organizing communities that I hang out in and stuff like that. And it makes me angry, or more so it makes me like burnt out seeing that people just want to like be divisive and just want to like, you know, you know, because I always say this a lot. I say this like all the time because I like ACAB till the day I die, but those cops are still people, you know. And no matter how much slack that's going to receive me, at the end of the day, it's not my job to kill those people. It's my job to bring them in and talk to them about those things. And I think that's what's hard about it, is like nobody wants to then do the work to bring people in, you know, and understand that the capitalist system wants us to just kill these people off, or the imperial system wants us to kill these people off, and just can't, like, even in your thesis, you don't talk about killing people and stuff like that, but you talk about how easy people are co-opted into trying to cancel each other, you know. And so I think that's the system that we live in. To be better than that, to break that cycle, to break that vicious cycle, is to bring people in and show them where you think they are wrong, and have the conversation with them and understand that they are just, what is that? There's like that meaning that like everyone is just a reflection of yourself, right? And so that's why you get mad at other people. That's why you like you want more for other people, because it's just a reflection of yourself. And so I don't know. I think that because of the world that we live in, which is highly digital, that's what we're dealing with, so I don't know, just any.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that, especially because, and I know I'm not the only person to say this, but most folks, it seems like, sound like the top 5 things on their feed, which can get a little scary because just like, especially, I know we talk about the chronically online, and that's something I'm still trying to understand, and it makes me just laugh off face value, but it's like, no, I get it. Where it's just like, if you're kind of in those spaces, when someone's just kind of espousing thoughts or ideas, beliefs that you're just like, do you really believe that?
Yeah.
Or have you just indoctrinated yourself so much so that you think you actually believe it?
Yeah.
And it's like with no thought process as to like, well, remember, like, why are you seeing the things that you do? Why are you engaging in the things, in the spaces with people, like, for any reason? Like, to get down to that, like, critical idea of, like, why do anything? Beyond just why be on the app? Like, the fundamental purpose of, honestly, just being human. So then it's like when you add a complicated tool like social media to the mix, it's like, yeah, you're dealing with, I want to say, honestly, a variety of different illusions for the most part. And I don't mean that in like, oh, everyone's like fake, but it's just that idea of like, no, it's constructed, right? And that's why I love media like so much. It's like, it is so powerful. Like, it is so vast. Like, there's something for everybody in whatever channel. And with social media, it's just like, yeah, you get on one particular like platform, you're opening up like so many different things. It's like a different universe. You hop into another different thing, right? And then I think what's also getting me now more than ever is the sensation of, I think a lot of the like divisiveness is like caused by bots. Like, I'm getting the strangest sensation that it's just become so rampant now, and it's not like it's come out of nowhere, right? Because I know, of course, the AI conversation has been around before I was even like born, before we were even born. Like, people have been doing this for a minute, so I can only imagine what they're thinking with this. But just within the last few years of us talking about like the whole open AI and ChatGPT and this and AI like images, it's just like, honestly, slowly but surely, if you've been on like a platform like X for a minute, you could see like already that like sort of thin layer of it being there. Like, you could just feel the presence, but now it's like you don't really know. And again, it's not like you knew before, but now you really don't know who you're talking to. Like, you can, and honestly, sometimes even without like just the logic of just trying to look into a profile so deeply, it's like I can see a comment and I'm just like, that is not a person. Like, and even you just look at the flash of the profile pic, you look at the name, and even if you click on it and you see like there's no post here, or I mean, before you could see the likes, now we can't see the likes on X, so you're not really seeing what they're seeing, right? But it's like you can just get a sense of like what type of messaging, like you said, right, they're trying to present to you,
what kind of profile it is.
Like what type of like the things that they're willingly doing, like, again, whether it's being constructed by like bot farms or one individual or whoever, like it's clearly there for a reason to incite some form of emotion. And if you fall into it, that's like you said, the way like same with me, it's like the way sometimes like media or just messaging it can pull you if you're not like cognizant to the fact of, remember, this is a message.
If you're not woke to it.
Like, why are you seeing, like, why am I seeing this? For what reason, right? Who is responsible for this? Like, why is it coming to me in this channel? Like, is this something that, like, I willfully called in? Or is this something that, maybe there's, like, breadcrumbs that could lead me to this very moment? But yeah, you can't escape it. Like, we are embedded within it. Like, it is so much of, like, who we are and what we do, which is why, like, I don't knock it for the whole, like, oh my God, it's, like, the end of the world. I mean, the end of the world, girl, it's already here. It's been like this for a minute. Things have already been like, you know what I mean? Like, we're being realistic. Like, this isn't like, it's not like we've hit this threshold of like, oh my gosh, this is, beyond, like, if you think this is bad, like, just strap in. And I don't even mean that in like a doomsday sort of rhetoric, but that idea of, no, like, just sincerely, like, open your eyes and just look at it for what it is. Like, it's like weird times right now. Just getting weirder.
Because now we're dealing with this must be how the Neanderthals felt. Like, the fuck are these humans coming? What the fuck what are they doing, Aaron? They're kind of tinier, but I kind of want to fuck it. No. I'm just saying. You don't want to get into bed with a bot?
Dude, oh my gosh.
Auntie, I'll treat you right.
Clearly.
Treat you right.
They know everything about you, right?
That's why Her is my favorite movie.
Bruh. That's, what I always kind of think about too with the whole social media conversation. It's like, to your point of like, they really are just people. Like, we cannot forget that. But then I always try to imagine like the power one must feel to like, again, like the push of a button or the change of like code, or you can't do this on our platform, but it's still open and connected. You can do this, right? Or like, we'll show you what we think you like, versus like, that always is fascinating for me. Like, ever since just hearing either it could be a professor, just could be whatever, just hearing that idea of like, oh no, yeah, remember, right? It's like being in a corral of sorts, or like you said, like a chamber. Like you're kind of, you can get fixed so easily within a platform where it's just like, yeah, you give it everything about you.
Yeah.
Even the permissions you say that you can access this, but don't access that. It's like, it doesn't
matter at the end of the day.
It doesn't really matter.
Because it's going to make assumptions.
Yeah. And it's always like, I mean, feed changes like imperceptible now.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'll be looking at stuff and I'm just like, where did that even come from?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's like, we kind of, few things. One is like, this is where capitalism has left us. You know, it's because that people created this idea and it seemed like a good idea, but before thinking about it, they exploited it and they said, okay, well, this is going to make me a bunch of money, so we just won't really worry about it right now. We'll just keep on doing it, you know. And then by the time it becomes such a big issue, it's no longer let's fix this. It's okay, how do we fix it, but how do we wean off of it so I can still make as much money as I can until I'm safe enough to make more money, or to continue making money off the next thing, you know? Maybe that's just my like socialist mind, but that's what I feel like drives it, because it's mostly businesses that are pushing this forward. And what is the main reason for capitalism in a business? Is to get ahead. It's to get profit. Yeah,
that's it.
Another thing is that you talked about that I was like tripping out about the other day, which was like, what if, well, AI will most likely outlive humanity, right? If like everything, if it continues to be able to have a power source or whatever like that, because I mean, I don't know too much about science, but I've heard about like quantum computing and other things, and I'm sure there's like reusable sources of energy in the future and stuff like that. What if what creates the next being or the next step in consciousness is because AI is allowed to sit with itself long enough, just having a conversation nonstop, continuously, you know? But and so I was thinking in my head, I was like, when we're all gone and social media, the remnants of social media are left over, that's what it will be. It will just be computers talking to themselves.
Oh wow.
You know,
which is like a crazy thought. Yeah,
which is what is going to involve from that, you know, which is like, you know, it's the next thing, right? And we're only going to, like, if we're lucky, we'll die at 120, you know. Or we'll have the opportunity to upload our consciousness into a computer.
On my MySpace page.
Yeah, exactly. My top 10, always changing. Yeah. How am I feeling today? Here's my top song. So yeah, I think you have it right. We got to like look at the time that we're in and just be like, wow, it's take a step out, you know, and not like let things, I feel like too, the political landscape is very much like, don't worry about the big thinking stuff. Just go back to being comfortable, you know, like none of this matters. And I was listening to, fucking funny enough, Jon Stewart, who's, you know, on a huge cable network, or I don't even know if it's cable network anymore, but he's on a huge network, fucking NBC, Peacock or whatever. And he said, with Biden stepping down, he was all like, well, what was the difference when you all were just kind of like telling us, we know how everything looks, but Trump is worse, you know? Because that's what it was. You know, it was very much like, yeah, we know he's stumbling. We know you don't like him. Like, and I'm talking about Biden as a presidential candidate. We know you don't like him, but Trump is worse. So just let us keep on going forward. It's like you even have your own political parties, the strength and our leaders telling us, don't worry about it, just trust us, you know? And it's like, but we're seeing that nothing's good. And we're living it too. Dog, go buy $100 worth of groceries today and tell me what it's gonna buy you. Ingredients for a sandwich that you're gonna eat in 2 days, you know? Maybe, if you're lucky enough. Not me, I eat the sandwich in 1 day.
I was about to say,
yeah, that loaf of bread is delicious. I'm addicted. So, you know, and then like none of us can get houses, you know, and it's like this consistent, like, just forget about it, you know, go play your game, go hear some more serotonin or whatever it is that keeps us going. And I think social media is the same thing, and the messages are the same thing, and you start to see what it means to take community out of these things that started from community, specifically when we're talking about cancel culture, or at least your thesis, what is laid out in your thesis. It's now, because of its co-option or co-optation, however you pronounce the word, and also because of colonialism and because of classism, it's become this thing for people to join on to make others feel bad, and to make you feel not only like you're part of a group, but that you're better than them because you're not being canceled for what you did, you know? So I don't know. It's like, for me, it's like sad, but it's also kind of like, this is the way it is. You know, you said like the world's ending, and I was in my opinion, it's like the world's always ending. It's always ending. It's always changing. Yeah, it's always transforming. Dude, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, it's the same. Like, even that's it. Yeah, it's always this way. It's just you're in a different context. You're experiencing it differently. So I don't know. I think also you talked about mindfulness, and could you just like expand on that? Have you like tried to practice mindfulness in your everyday life, and do you feel like there's been a difference with because you also talked about like acceptance of other people and just understanding you can't control them, you can't control what they do. Because I mean, to put like a thread through it, especially with the whole comment that you mentioned with like capitalism and what the purpose of these folks at the helms of these platforms, like what they're doing, what for, and the whole open and connected. Again, I got to shout out Dr. Professor. She played this a while ago. It was a Frontline PBS documentary. It's 2 parts. It's called The Facebook Dilemma. And it was like the history of Facebook. And up until that moment, I'd never like heard about it. So I was like, oh, dang, like it's about to be good. And every so often, like I'll play it for like future classes. But yeah, it's that idea of the way that they edit the documentary. They show like Zuckerberg talking about his whole ethos of like, no, I'm making this social media platform because I want people to connect, open and connected. But then like progressively as the documentary goes on, you kind of see it's like that pivot into, well, we got to make money now. How are we about to make money? And then you kind of see the shift in, well, open and connected becoming more open and connected for advertisers and other different parties that can X, Y, and Z. So it's like seeing that, and it's like, I wonder, generally speaking, when they have these ideas in mind for social media platforms, it's like, maybe sure, their intentions are in the right place, but I feel like, there also has to be some realization either before, and maybe, again, some may knew at the onset, or maybe this is something that has come later, but that idea of like, once you release it, there really is no control over it. And I think that's part of like, maybe the fear for them is, well, we honestly, you're bigger than us, right? Like you're talking about billions of people on how many different platforms? Like, can we really institute rules and regulations that would make sense for everyone without folks getting offended, right? And then if we do have this data and this information, then that becoming a different type of capital. Like, you know what I mean? It's far beyond the whole oil and the natural resources. Like, as they say, information, this is it. Like what you're willing to give of yourself and what can like come of it, like creative, like the innovation, the idea, like that seems to be booming. So I always kind of think of that too in the whole reference of the different branches of government. And again, I'm not really too embedded with that, right? But the whole concept of, well, journalism is the 4th estate. Well, dang, well, social media is the 5th estate. And I'm sure like other researchers have mentioned it before. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think this is like a new thought. Like I must pull this from the ether somewhere, right? But that idea of like, this is how big it is. And then to the point of what you mentioned about like AI and like, outliving us. I thought about the movie, the more recent one with Ridley Scott, like Alien and Alien Covenant. And I forget old boy's name, Michael Fassbender, his character. But him being, you know what I mean? Like, he pretty much outlived them, right? But I think in the second version, like Covenant, him in the beginning in that film asking the person who made him, the human who made him, right? He's like, well, I know you made me. Like, you are basically trying to find who made you. So it's like, where do I begin and where do you end? And that idea of like, well, I'm just going to be here for what purpose? Like him trying to figure out for himself what that would mean. So like you said, the whole computers talking to each other, like I wouldn't be surprised if, they have maybe, as weird as it sounds, maybe some form of a personality already. Like, I mean, I don't think it's far-fetched.
Right, it's not far-fetched. I mean, Siri, like, it's already, like Alexa's already been embedded. And that's like the crazy part of it. It's just going to get much more sophisticated.
Because of how fast they develop compared to how fast humans develop.
Right. Like, it's
the time change must be different. Like,
are you kidding? Like the amount of information it like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
AI, just generally speaking, is processing.
Yeah.
I mean, versus us too. I mean, we're humans. It's not to say like, oh, we're dumb, we can't process as much, but that idea of like, it just has a lot of different powers for it. So I always kind of ask the question, who knows what it knows?
Yeah.
Because I think, isn't that the whole thing? Like, we can't really peer into the black box, but like, we know it's thinking, right? Or we know it's doing things, like we see the output, but like, we can't crack into it, which I always kind of wonder, is that really true? I'm not sure. But still, in that mind, like that whole idea of, yeah, being mindful and thinking about cancel culture and the intersections of all of it. And it's like, clearly there have been different threads that authors, scholars, writers, cultural critics, whoever, have been looking at this phenomenon and going like, yeah, it's like, for instance, right? I think it was like Hudley who mentioned it, or Ross, that idea of, yeah, it's been co-opted. Like, if you think about this, like back when I was alive during this decade, 40s, 50s, 60s, like we had something like this. We just didn't call it that. But I'm seeing what you guys are doing now, and well, I'm not saying it is it, but there are elements that look familiar. But nonetheless, it doesn't change the fact that we still have to, like, well, Professor Loretta J. Ross would say, right, call people in. Yeah. Like, I will feel like that's the better option versus just canceling out. Because even that whole idea, too, of, like, the language, canceling wasn't, like, it may not be the whole, like, the physical killing of people, but there's still some sort of killing happening, right? A clean part of you that they're trying to get rid of, that they're saying, yeah, no, you're acting like this. We need you to act like this.
There's a separation.
Yeah, like, right. There's still, like, it's almost like a killing of the spirit in that way. Like, whatever you are acting as is unacceptable, so therefore you must, like, atone for it. Like, you have to go through some sort of process that would, like, transform you into someone different so that we feel like we can believe you.
Which isn't, and you say this in your thesis, which isn't always achieved, because then you have the electronic record.
Even then, it's like giving people grace. It's just like, well, either you're going to give it to, or you're going to give it or you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just some things of, I'm sure, like, everyone, there's things that you probably don't want to get out either, right? Like, you know what I mean? If we're being real, like, there's probably some things, even if it's not on any form of a medium, but maybe even thoughts that you thought that you probably wouldn't want imprinted somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So if you can give yourself grace, or maybe you're not, right? And that's why you're not giving other people that. Because like you said, the whole mirror thing, I feel you on that. The reflection, it's like, well, if you can't extend that grace, ultimately it's the whole, especially with anything, I always question, like, what does it say about me? When I'm thinking about cancel culture, what does it say about me? Like, what interests me about this? When I'm looking at a particular case, right? And it's someone who I'm kind of feeling like, no, they kind of deserve that. You kind of deserve just the verbal like whiplash. You don't, it doesn't have to do anything beyond that. But like, some people just need that verbal ass whipping. You know what I mean? To be like, yo, you need to chill because you're acting so wild. Yeah. And maybe some people do need that physical like kick in the ass. You feel me? Just a little bit. Yeah. But again, ultimately, why choose that form of reprimand? Like, what is the ultimate achievement? And if this happened to me, right? And again, putting myself in that person's shoes, how would I feel? Yeah. And so the whole being mindful of, like, just, it's so easy to just go unconscious, like, all the time, like, literally all the time. All you have to do is pull out your phone, right? Or all you have to do is, like, go back into your, like, mind's past of, like, shit that hurt, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm there, right? It's just, so, like, trying to just be more present and grounded and be just simply aware of what's happening and knowing that it isn't static. Like, cancel culture, studying it for that moment in 2021 was that moment in time. Yeah. Like, even as I was writing it, I knew it was already changing. Like, the world is ending, that sort of idea. Like, it's already, like, I know someone else is writing about this right now, right? I know tomorrow somebody's going to have a piece about this right now. But for this moment in time, this is where I'm going with it. I know it's going to change. My thoughts clearly have been changing, like, as I'm, like, getting out of it, and of course up until this moment. And we're still talking about cancel culture, and we're still talking about the things that are clearly, like, divisive, but now it feels much more of, like, it's almost like a rubber band. Kind of feel that, like, we are, like, being so stretched that, like, once shit snaps, because it has to, and I think that's where we're at with, like, it's getting ready to snap. And again, I don't say that with the whole, like, it should be feared, like, no, just hold on, like, brace yourself, but, like, open your eyes as it happens. Like, you can't check out, you can't be unconscious to it. Like, as much as it's easy to hop into different portals on social media and be entertained, you also see how other people are living too, right? You also see what's happening across, like, literally, Palestine, Israel, Haiti, I mean, Sudan, you name it. And that's what we've just been seeing. So imagine before social media, I mean, even think legacy news, but even before then, like people just living on the planet, generally speaking, before a camera could ever be in your face, it's like life was already happening on the planet. So now we're just tuning into these different, it's almost like channels. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, being mindful of, well, I know I can't spread myself too thin, right, out in the world, but I do have a community here that I can tend to. I do have myself that I need to tend to, right? I know that, like, sure, I can donate out there as much as I can, but then also, like, how do I keep the folks around me, the people that, like, my community grounded? Like, how can I kind of, you know, like, your locus of control.
Mm-hmm. And have you felt like anything come to you in ways that you want to do that for your community?
Yeah, honestly, being more present in that kind of weird sense, but also just producing more art, and talking to more creatives, and just doing what I can in the classroom, outside of the classroom, thinking about the way that I can approach like service, just generally speaking, because I think that's just kind of a part of like generally the whole, I guess you can say life purpose, but just how can I help? Like that's just my thing. Like, how can I help? Like, what can I do? And so just trying to be more mindful of the things that I'm witnessing, right? And the things that are external that are hurting me, like, yeah, seeing the world just kind of like obliterate. But then also being mindful of my own internal world and being like, okay, well, I got to take care of that too. And so making sure that I don't explode on others. Making sure that, yeah, like if I'm mad, right, or if I'm having a bad day, like getting out of those habits of like just maybe snapping too quick, right? Or asking for more patience, but then being hella impatient. You know what I mean? Like, and be like, yo, this isn't moving quick enough, right?
Yeah.
Or like saying that, like, I want to be a good listener, but I'm just like, dang, it's kind of boring. You know what I mean? Like, just trying to, again, just like checking myself, being more like present in the moment, like for sure. And honestly, that's been for like a really, really long time. And I realized, oh, dang, no, it really is too easy, I think now more than ever, to get caught in a distraction. So I'm just like, well, I'm choosing my distractions.
Yeah.
Like better now, right?
Yeah.
Like the things that really matter.
Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Loydie Burmah. You can find her on Instagram, Cash App, Edible Arrangements. I might link it in either the bio or in a post or something, or tag her in one of the Instagram reels that I make of this. I'm not too sure where this is going to go from here. I've got a few more people in my mind that I'd like to interview. But yeah, I like the rawness of this right now. Yeah, I hope you stick around. I hope you enjoy.